When you think of Bedfordshire, if at all you do on a regular basis, you might think of it for knockoff Cornish pasties or maybe airships. It's probably about it. You wouldn't think too much of it. But with the Isle of Man TT having been cancelled for 2 years on the trot with COVID, potentially it's time to look for a more suitable home for the tourist trophy, somewhere that isn't hamstrung by the problem of it being a small island in the Irish Sea, accessible only by love-struck jet ski owners. So why not have the TT here, in Bedfordshire? When you think of road racing courses through motorsport, you think of the enormous expanse that is Le Mans, you think of the glamour of Monaco, the precision tightness of Baku, you think of the Avis circuit, you think of Po, you think of Pescara. If you're old enough to remember Pescara, there's a circuit and a half from Formula One way back when. But you think of all these fantastic locations, so why not add Bedfordshire to that list? I think it'd be a great addition. It looks fairly pretty. And on a logistics side, at least, we already have a pre-existing course. We have the Flitwick 10k route, a 10-kilometre foot race that's held generally every year, COVID permitting, and it sort of encompasses a bit of Flitwick and much of the surrounding countryside, with some tight and technical turns and long, fast sections. The course already exists. We don't have to worry about too much of that side of the planning. And beyond that, we're not too far from the M1, and we have a train station. So logistically, getting things to the race, boxes ticked, which I think makes us more accomplished than Circuit Paul Ricard. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the highlights of the Flitwick Tourist Trophy circuit. So you join me here at the first turn on the course. Technically we have a Sochi style turn 1 going off that way. It's a sort of left-hand sort of curve away from the start-finish line. But the first actual turn that you'd be required to slow down and tip it in for is the right-hander onto Eagle Drive. This takes you up through a technical section going over a series of rises to Manor Way behind me. This is the next major section of the course, Steppingley Road. You start from Manor Way, right up the top there. You come past the old leisure centre, the new leisure centre, the Rufus Centre, and eventually get to the Froghall Roundabout right behind me. It is a dead straight section of the track. You'll come out of there, wind on the power, and you'll be doing nearly 160, 170 miles an hour before you put the brakes on for Froghall Roundabout. It would be fantastic for a speed trap, and the local police also know this and regularly have a van stationed down there, so be careful. As you come past the Rufus Centre, you'll be getting onto the brakes and tipping the bike into the left-hander here of Froghall Roundabout, heading off towards Steppingley. That way, you'll go past the water pumping station and you'll go past the Drover's Arms, an ideal place to get some lunch on race day and watch the action, as it has a seating area out front looking right over the track. As you come through Steppingley, your bike won't just go light, you'll become completely airborne as you cross over from Flitwick Road into Rectory Road, heading that way towards what I always call the Corkscrew. It is an unsighted, completely tight downhill right-left, where you'll be turning the bike over one way, leaning it back over the other, trying to pick it up on the power, avoiding the sand and not fall off, all while trying to maintain a completely competitive time. So it's probably going to be quite a demanding section, and again, battling with changing light conditions as you race in between the trees that overhang the course. So could be good fun, could be some accidents. It's kind of what you're aiming for with a TT, really, isn't it? As you come out of Steppingley down Rectory Road, one of the things you'll start to do is A, wind on the power, and B, lose elevation. It is a downhill run pretty much from as soon as you leave the French Horn to, well, a very tight left turn that's coming up. But first you have to get through this. I like to call it the Corkscrew, a downhill, completely blind and unsighted, right then left turn. You're hemmed in by these tall, dark hedgerows, and just to the edges of the track, soft, sandy verges. Get it wrong, end up in the sand, you're on your arse. Get it right though, there is a very fast line hiding between these two turns. The question is, can you get it right? And can you carry enough speed to do so? That's the real challenge. By the time you get to this point here, your bike will be doing over 100 miles an hour, and you'll be trying to slow it down. You'll be on the brakes, looking to get the bike turned in and leant over for the left-hand turn here at the bottom of Rectory Road. It's completely unsighted. There is a hedgerow, rather annoyingly, on the apex. So you have to find an interesting line, but a careful line, because here the road conditions are hazardous, to say the least. It is not fresh black tarmac, instead it is broken asphalt, made up largely of gravel, dust and whatever the farmers have left lying around on the road, really. There's straw and hay and a bit of horse poo here, just to really emphasise my point. See, if you run too wide, you clip the dust and the gravel. The bike low sides from under you, and as you slide towards the hedge, the motorcycle continues over there, towards centre parks, really. But if you're successful, you make it round the turn, get the power on, and pick up the front end as you head off towards Tingrith. It's going to be a very exciting corner, and one likely packed with a lot of action. At this point, you've reached kilometre 7 on the course. There are 3 kilometres left to go. Get them right and you can make up every lost second. Get it wrong, however, and you could pay dearly. Behind me is Cobbler's Lane. You'll be coming down there at a great speed. You'll be looking to get onto the brakes and tip the bike over for the left-hand turn to bring you over this way and then right behind me and off this way towards Tingrith. If you get that right, you'll carry a huge amount of momentum towards the hills and back towards Flitwick. Get it wrong, and you could end up clipping one of the very high curbstones that mark out this part of the course. And hit one of those, you could well be sailing towards the hedgerows without a motorcycle between your legs. Something that is bound to have a very uncomfortable landing indeed. Next up, Tingrith Turn. Pace, precision and momentum are going to be the watchwords for this, the start of the final quarter of the track. If you can carry as much momentum and speed as possible through this, which is known locally as Tingrith Turn, then you'll do very well indeed for the uphill climb that follows. We are now at the final technical section of the Bedfordshire Tourist Trophy course. About 1.5 kilometres stand between you and motorcycling glory. However, it is a gruelling 1.5 kilometres indeed, because from here to the finish line, it is all up and down. Your bike will be put through its absolute paces as the suspension in short of 30 seconds goes from full compression to full extension, back to full compression, back to full extension and back to full compression once more as you navigate the hills past Priestley Farm. It will be a demanding piece of track, especially as you'll be watching the RPM spike as you get airborne and immediately labour on the climbs each time. If you can hang on and keep your bike going for this final sector, you could well be on that winner's podium.
So there you have it, the Flitwick TT, or the Bedfordshire TT, depending on what we choose to call this. Hang on, you can't hear me if I've got this on. Right.
Yes, the Flitwick TT, or the Bedfordshire TT, depending on what we choose to call it. It's pointless calling it the Flitwick TT because not a lot of it's actually spent in Flitwick. But anyway, the fact of the matter is, we know what the course looks like. We've been a spectator, we've stood at the side of the road, I've pointed out all the corners in my best Tom Scott impersonation. The question is, though, is it any good when you're actually on a bike? When you're giving it the beans through Steppingley and getting airborne? When you're getting your knee down coming through the fast turns on the way from Froghall Roundabout up to the Drover's Arms? Is it a good course? So to find out, I'm borrowing this. It is producer Ian's 1981 Yamaha RD350 LC. It's a very pretty bike. Clashes a bit with the Rossi helmet, but that's not the point. Fact is, we're going for a ride. We're going to find out if this course is everything I've cracked it up to be. I will actually say before I go, standing on this side of the bike, like this, it is a bit like being Doug DeMuro. This
left, which is enough to make up for lost time. But equally, there he goes again, landing the aerial atom.